Welcome to the Encore Effect, the podcast where music takes center stage in life's second act. Brought to you by Encore Creativity, America's largest choral organization for adults 55 and older. This inspiring series celebrates the transformative power of music, community, and creativity in the later years of life. Each episode will share moving personal stories from encore singers across the country and dive into fascinating conversations with experts in neuroscience, gerontology, and the arts. Discover how choral singing is boosting brain health, improving well-being, and lighting up the lives of thousands of older adults nationwide. From retirees finding their voice for the first time, to the science behind why doctors are prescribing music for the mind, the Encore Effect proves that creativity is endless. Join us and let the music move you.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Encore Effect. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. I'm Joshua Vickery, Encore CEO and your host for these lovely conversations. I'm so very excited today and so honored that we have Catherine Dehoney on the podcast. Catherine's 40-year career has centered in arts management and fundraising, particularly in the choral field. In 2024, she concluded nearly 10 years as president of Chorus America, the service association for choruses in the U.S. and Canada. Dehoney also served as the chief development officer at Chorus America for more than 10 years. Her work led to groundbreaking research and essential resources for chorus professionals, along with greater recognition for the field in the performing arts ecosystem. Prior to Chorus America, she was senior director of development at Gallaudet University. During her 9 years there, she served as a member of the president's management team and the institutional advancement team. Her other experience includes capital campaign management, development consulting for a variety of arts nonprofits, and fundraising positions at the Castleton Festival, League of American Orchestras, the Council for Advancement and Support of Education, and the Friends of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. She currently serves on the City of Alexandria, Virginia Commission for the Arts, and Catherine received her bachelor's in music from the College of William and Mary and continues to be an avid singer, having sung professionally in church choirs and with the jazz band. Welcome, Catherine.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thanks so much, Josh. It's great to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. That is a wonderful bio. You have had such an incredible career. And earlier, I was just calling you the queen of the choral field.
I think that's very funny, but I appreciate it.
Has anybody called you that before, or was that the first time?
No, I have to tell you, not the queen of the, maybe queen of the choral field. I have been called Queen Catherine before, and I thought it might, I don't know, I was trying to figure out why that would be.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
you are the queen, right? You have done so much for choirs and for people singing across the country, and whether it's helping to create funding opportunities or research or equity, you have been a part of those conversations over the last 20 years or more in really helping to advance the field. As you look back at such a beautiful career, what would be something that you would say would be some shining moments for you that you're really proud of? Like, I was at the table or helped lead this initiative.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I think anybody who knows me for 10 minutes knows that I'm sort of I'm an evangelist for the survey work that Chorus America's done, to give choruses some research to build their case for why they matter, and not only for fundraising but for other advocacy efforts for our field. And it was work that no one had ever done before. And Ann Baker and I started working on early in the 2000s. And then I was able to work later on to do the third study with Liza Beth and some others at Chorus America. And It and the last one we did, I'm really proud of because it included a whole segment of research on the impact of choral singing for adults 62 and older.
Mm,
Yeah, and so it gives choruses like the Encore organization's choruses more fuel for the fire of why choral singing, is the best art form.
yeah, I love
And
it. I love it, and I love that you said that, when you talk about your shiny moments, that creating research is one of them. Encore, as you know, was founded in research back in 2001. The
yes,
National Endowment for the Arts, the National Institute for Health, ARP came together and
right.
commissioned world-renowned gerontologist Gene Cohen, and that study
Yeah.
was part of the catalyst of the creative aging movement. But so we believe in research. When you talk about research, Catherine, what are some things that in either the one that you just did for 62 and over or others, what comes out of that research? What are you
Oh,
able to find that is the fuel for choirs?
right. There's sort of more generally for choral singing, and then there's specifically for the older adults in the 2019 study. This one, but overarching every time the study's been done. And by the way, the latest one with the research related to older adults and the impact of singing, we did look back at the Gene Cohen work, and it was very important. All that groundbreaking work that founded Encore, has had a ripple effect, I will tell you. But in general, one thing that has come out, all three studies point to the same thing: that choral singers the choral singing provides all sorts of emotional and social benefits,
Mm,
but they also provide choruses are sort of a powerhouse of community engagement and civic responsibility.
mm,
That so social capital, civic duty, all those things, you find a higher incidence among choral singers of things like voting, volunteering, giving money, playing leadership roles as they volunteer. So they're kind of powerhouses for community. And beyond that, now they're also powerhouses for tolerance
mm,
and inclusion. And you see people who sing in choruses reporting that they are far less likely to be feeling lonely and isolated. And that is especially important for older adults. And for older adults, it's all sorts of things, benefits, health benefits, levels of engagement in other areas of like hobbies and social engagement in other areas like cultural activities and family activities, exercising. There's a higher incidence of being involved in running and working out and walking and
mm.
biking among singers than the general population of older adults, and enjoying nature, all sorts of interesting things, other kinds of art creation. So, oh yeah, I'm a huge evangelist.
Well, and that just gave me like literally gave me goosebumps hearing you go through all of those things about, what choral singing does besides kind of the baseline things that we know that it does around more likely to vote, more likely to be
Hmm.
civically engaged, more likely to be philanthropists and in leadership. I mean, it's really powerful what
Yeah.
what music does in our lives. And I think, Catherine, we've known for a while that singing in a choir was good for our bodies and good for our minds, good for cognition, good for our hearts, right? It brought us joy. But I think this conversation of combating social isolation or real community building has been heightened since COVID. Uh,
Hmm.
for Encore, so many of our older adults stayed socially connected through singing together
Right.
over Zoom sessions. And I also feel like, there was just a little bit of life stolen from all of us during that time frame. So people are just like, I'm going to go do everything I've ever wanted to do, including singing in a choir.
Yeah.
Are you seeing
Yeah.
that too? Like, are you seeing
Yes.
this conversation of community is even heightened more?
I think that's really true. And it was so painful for the choral field. COVID. I know it was painful for everyone, but when the very essence of the art form it becomes a possible means of viral spread. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
you become
Yeah.
the poster children for aerosolization. It's pretty shocking.
Mhm.
And every chorus experienced a loss of participation, but it's pretty much back.
Mhm.
And that's wonderful. And I think chorus has sort of led the way in innovations to keep folks connected. And certainly Encore did with all the courses you offered online to and the the work with the Zoom. It really was inspiring and important during those days, really important.
Well, I don't want to talk about COVID too much, but I have to
No.
give you a shout out because, it was a scary time for choirs.
Oh,
It was a really unknown dark time. I was still in Florida leading the organization that I was leading there. And I remember like it was yesterday, but also like 50 years ago when you had a panel that
mm,
you did a webinar. And it was like, kind of one of the first conversations we had that you led around what are we going to do? Right?
yeah.
How do we keep going?
Oof,
How do we keep each other safe? Is there a way to even keep going? And
right.
I remember your leadership during those times and watching those webinars. So thank you for
Oh.
helping keep the choral field intact.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, thank you for mentioning that. It was a scary time and it was scary to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, because and on one hand, it could have been we were harming the choral field by being so real about the risks we were facing. And everybody went into sort of a period of grief and denial and shock and then got busy,
Mm.
kept their
Yeah.
courses together in safe ways, which I really was glad we had the opportunity to partner with other organizations that were really looking for how to navigate the situation with the viral spread. Instrument makers, it wasn't just the choral field, it was theater and because oboes were even worse with the aerosolization issue than sopranos. So it was interesting to partner to get the right information out there.
Well, now I would say, the arts in general, the choral field, but the arts in general are stronger than they've ever been before. We have found a way to think outside the box and be resurgence with, research, just think differently about the way we do our arts and the way we do business. Is that true, you think?
I do. I think more choruses and well, the big tradition in what has traditionally been called like the big Western European art forms, but dance and orchestra and choral and opera, all those collaboration and reaching out to new collaborators and not just European music based. It has been part of this. And I think it is stronger. I think it's a lot stronger in that way. Bringing all the different kind of influences together, I think, is a wonderful thing to do and helps remind communities that their choruses are super important and are really a big piece of community art, music making, and art making.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your journey in music. How
Mm.
did that begin? Were you singing as a child and sang through high school and college? Was it a part of who you were?
Oh yeah, a big, big part of who I was. It was, I was not an athlete, so I was a musician. At school, in school where it's like time to try out for the basketball team or something. Oh no, 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 no. That did not go well for me. So I sang my whole life. I sang, from their family folklore about how I was a toddler and I would wake up and sing and wake up the rest of the family because I was making up songs about the birds, or whatever. Um, but yeah, I sang through, I was very lucky at the time of life, the history I grew up in. There were choruses at every stage of education. So I was in a chorus, from the time I went to school. And in college, I joined the chorus there and I majored in vocal performance. And after college, I dabbled here and there. I sang with church choirs consistently, but I did a little opera, I did some jazz, I did a little a cappella, and just kind of kept singing. And it's been a very, very big part of my life. All through COVID, I had a voice coach, and we met, through Zoom, and we did virtual recitals, and it was a good thing. It was a really good thing. And now I got to figure out my next vocal move. But
Yeah, I know. As I told you, that I got
oh,
a place you can sing,
you
Catherine.
got, I know, and yeah, they're encore chorales here in Alexandria, Virginia, and
Uh,
I'm on the, as you mentioned, I'm on the Arts Commission of the City of Alexandria, and recently, Catherine Harsha's chorus, the Alexandria Choral Society, organized a festival,
mhm,
and I will tell you that the commission is very focused on public art, visual art, and they were my fellow commissioners were so surprised to hear how many choruses there are in the city of Alexandria.
mm.
And I was like, I'm not surprised. And you should go, you should go hear them because she brought together 7 choruses. And they did this, and that's never happened before. And yeah, it was really impressive. And I think, helped kind of raise the profile.
Well, there are so many great choirs in the DC area, and I'm sure all of them would love to have you, Catherine. So you're going to have no problem finding a choir to sing in. And we're so proud of Catherine, our artistic director for programming and the work that she does in
Oh, she's
community.
amazing.
She's really fantastic, and we're very lucky to have her. I
Yeah.
have a question for you. You've had this. Well, I have so many questions for you with so little time, but you had this beautiful career in music, but then this also personal journey in music. At Encore, when we have conversations or even in surveys and ask questions, we see kind of two sides of like somebody told them as they were growing up or as an adult they couldn't sing or they shouldn't
Right.
sing or
Right.
they sing off key and they believed that and they put it away for so many years and now they're finally coming back to it to try it again. Or they've
Right.
been singing their entire lives and there was a person or people who inspired them on that journey. So obviously you had some people or
Mm.
person who inspired you on your musical journey as you got started. Who would that be?
Oh, gosh, that's a really I had a couple. One, of course, was my family. My father was a very talented musician, but sort of informally, he took piano as a kid and all that, but he actually ended up playing jazz piano, and didn't sight read anymore. He stopped and just played jazz, not for a career, but as a hobby. And he was so interested in music. And my grandmother as well was, she definitely was a singer and she had been a dancer. And she was a really interesting woman and a sculptor and all this stuff. So they encouraged me a lot. And then in school, I actually had I had an amazing high school choral
Mm,
teacher
hmm
who he also was a jazz guy, like a real jazz guy, but he put both together and did more traditional choral music, but found out that I was had this interest in jazz, particularly more mainstream jazz, the singers of the 40s, the big bands, that kind of thing. And he created some music just for me and a couple other people to do in some concerts and things, and really encouraged me that way. And it was really special to have somebody encouraging and believing in you, you know. And
Mm.
I think what the other thing about what's important about choruses, and I think what's really important about encore is that you create a welcoming, safe place where
Mm.
folks who are uncertain about their abilities can feel like, you know, can I really not hold a tune in a bucket? You know, there's somebody here who's going to help me, or, you know, and help me figure out, right, how to make it work. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it comes down to having someone encourage you and also be in a encouraging place.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for saying that about Encore, and thank you for sharing about all those people who were inspiring to you. You know, I think that it's funny when I picture many of our singers at Encore and how they have come to music later in life, how they have just started singing, non-audition, this welcoming place, tons of
Oh,
resources to help you learn to sing, and they didn't know how to read music or know what part they sang, and they worked hard, right? They took classes,
right,
they took lessons, they rehearsed, and now
right.
they're like choir rock stars. You can't get them to stop singing. And you hear them talk about how I would have never thought I would have been in a choir. Do you think choral singing is for everyone, Catherine?
Oh, that's such a great question too. Um, I do. I do. Not blindly, but I do. I do think, you know, I spent some time working with a children's church choir, and I kind of experienced for myself some of the singers who were not matching pitch.
Hmm.
And I worked with them one on one just a little bit to have them kind of tune their ears. Really, it had to do with slowing down and listening. And to a one, they were able to match pitch. And
Hmm.
so I'm sort of a believer in that idea that anybody can sing.
Hmm.
You have to be a person who's willing to, you know, be part of a bigger whole
Right.
and not you can't be a showboat in a
Uh-huh.
choir,
Uh-huh.
or else it doesn't work. So but I do think if what you're looking for is, you know, you've never sung. Like the people who have sung get it. I know they get it. It's really good for your brain, and blending with other people is, you know, it's bigger than about the music. But if you're really not sure that you can sing or that you can match pitch, or someone told you you were off one time and you were embarrassed about it and never opened your mouth again, it's a really great thing to do if you're still interested to, you know, take a few lessons, tune your ears, and give it a shot, because the people aspect of it and the social aspect of it is so important.
I love it. So, in all of your conversations, the research you've done, the work you've been involved in, what myths or misnomers or things
Mm.
that are kind of out there about aging and creativity do you think still need to be challenged?
Oh, so many. Um,
Where do I start?
where do I start, right? The aging, gosh, you know, it is, one thing now that I am definitely a woman of a certain age with yet another birthday approaching, the, this idea of the health benefits that don't say you can't, you know, it's people can have strong voices long long into their later years, and it is a matter, it's like it's working out like working out anything else, but the benefits, especially for older folks, of paying attention to your breathing and paying attention to your stress levels and your overall energy and health and all these things. And choruses, you're doing something super great for your brain and paying attention. You don't even know that it's benefiting you physically necessarily while you're doing it, and yet it is. And I think that is not something that's just for the young. And older folks have learned so much in their lives about the emotional component of art, and the emotional components, I think, of the words and the lyrics and being able to communicate through music that is just has a huge impact and is so valuable and freeing in a way, right? You've lived a lot of the words you're singing, so heck, let her rip.
Let
And,
her rip.
you know,
So if you're listening to this podcast and you're hesitant at all about trying out music later in life, Catherine just gave you every reason why you should absolutely go and do it. That was perfect and
yeah,
beautiful. And I'm
absolutely.
hoping somebody will be listening to this and go, you know what? I'm going to go try
I hope
singing. I'm going to
so.
go try singing.
Give it a
So
shot.
Catherine, I can't believe our time is over already. I have so many more questions I
Oh,
want to ask you, so we'll have you back on the
okay.
podcast. I'd love to talk more just about the research, like what you really found, and kind of dive into that at
Uh-huh.
another time. But let's leave it with this question. It's actually a fill in the blank, Catherine. Okay.
Ah, okay.
Singing in a choir means to me this.
Oh, um, it means belonging and well-being.
Mm. Both are so important and so true to
Yeah.
choral singing. Catherine, thank you for everything you have done and are doing to further the choral field. And thank you for just loving music and
Oh,
sharing that with everyone that you meet, and for being
oh,
on this podcast.
absolutely. Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for all the good work you're doing and Encore is doing.
Until next time, Catherine, and until next time, listeners, thank you so much for joining the Encore Effect, and we'll see you next week.